could be hit or miss. Okay, we're officially live, streaming on YouTube, X, Kick, Twitch, Discord, streaming on all kinds of platforms. Welcome to another earnings stream. Got Visa reporting earnings and ENPH reporting earnings. Let's see how the stock price reacts to their data. Let me just pull up real quick. Visa reports at 4:05 p.m. Eastern, and ENPH reports at 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Looks like we have a few minutes to burn here. Getting a little volatility. Let me go 5-minute chart on these. A little bit of volatility. The data's not out yet, though. So Visa forecast EPS $2.97, forecast revenue $10.6 billion. Big company. They're anchored VWAP just above 340, so they're trading a little bit above there today. ENPH forecast EPS 0.66, forecast revenue $359 million. They were trading right around their anchored VWAP. ENPH has been getting crushed lately. This year mainly. Let's get the daily chart at ENPH real quick. Just kind of zoom out. It just kind of fell off a cliff. I mean, this thing used to trade in the hundreds. Even the 300s back here, back in 2022. Wow, look at that. It was trading sideways for half of for the bulk of 2024 and the 2023. It was basically trading in a tight range. Well, it's trading in a range like 93 to 130. I remember trading this when it was trading in that channel there. But the end of last year and into this year, ENPH just kind of fell off a cliff and it's way down here. Closed the regular session at $36.72, down 0.24% today. If it gets a positive reaction, we wait for this to load up. There we go. If it gets a positive reaction, we got some resistance in like the low 40s, so that level would need to be mitigated. The downside, short-term support around 33 bucks or so. So we'll see. Bigger term support around $30 a share. That's going to be my S1. $30 a share. Resistance number one, probably around 43 bucks. 42 to 43 bucks. So we go back to the 5-minute candles. Let's see what we got here. Got a little bit of volatility coming in. Let me go to the sticks on Webull real quick. Go to 2-chart view. Visa, ENPH. Okay, it's 4:03. So both of these companies, the data should be released in just a few minutes. And we got almost 700 people tuning in. What's up, y'all? See a lot of familiar faces, a lot of familiar names. Good to see everyone. Big earnings week this week. A big chunk of the Mag 7 reporting. Meta, Amazon, Google, Microsoft. We were talking about this earlier. Let's see if Earnings Whispers loads up quickly right now. Oh. Go back to the sticks while we're waiting. Okay, getting a reaction on ENPH. It's a bit volatile. Wick down, wick up. Candle's kind of just flickering around at the moment. 4:04 p.m. So one more minute, we should have the data. So ENPH is getting some pre-data jitters right now. Quite volatile. Visa closed the regular session at $347.42. Basically flat on the day, just down 40 cents a share. Going into the earnings, Visa had a nice positive PE, 33.9, EPS of 10.24, little tiny dividend, Free float 1.69 billion. ENPH, positive PE 29, EPS 1.23, free float 126 million. Let me go back here real quick. Oops. Okay, so check here. All right, ENPH getting a negative reaction. It's down to the low 33s. That's one of the levels we kind of looked at on the bigger time frame. The daily chart, you can see this blue line here. That's the post-market price action. So around like 33 bucks and some change. That's support level number 1. Support level number 2 is 30 bucks a share, right down here. So it's dealing with the $33 support right now. Let's see if this negative reaction holds, or is it going to reverse back up? Let me look on my other screen and get the data for everybody. Looks like ENPH is released. Visa, not seeing a reaction on Visa yet. Interesting. Information I had is they report at 4:05. It's 4:06. So a little bit delayed on Visa, but that's okay. It's probably coming any moment. ENPH earnings from a bird's eye view don't look bad, but I'm thinking they might have messed with the guidance in a negative way. There's a little graphic here from the earnings correspondent. They did beat EPS by 36%. Forecast was 0.66. They reported 0.90. Revenue expectations was 369 million. They just reported 410 million. So double beat by ENPH, but still got a negative reaction. I mean, it's not a big negative reaction. It's only down like $1.75 a share. Year-over-year numbers, quarter-over-quarter numbers, green. So I'm thinking it's probably guidance related. They probably updated the remainder of the fiscal year guidance and maybe the 2026 guidance. They might have adjusted it in a negative way, hence why we're getting some selling. Look at Visa's reactions finally coming in, also getting a negative reaction. Visa's down 2%. It might not seem like a lot, but for $350 stock, 2%, that's a decent move. I'm going to post this information about ENPH's revenue and EPS. I'll put that on the bottom of my screen. Volstagg on YouTube, what is up? Always good seeing you. See if I can get this comment to come in without it being all jumbled up. There we go. So there's EPS and revenue for ENPH. It looks like there was some dip buyers on ENPH. Look, it came all the way down to like 33 bucks and it's got a big bottom wick now. So some people buying the dip on Enphase a little bit. Now, ENPH did report a positive net income of 66.6 million. So they are still making a profit. That's good to see. And got over 2,000 people tuning in now. Welcome, everybody. Got a nice little group in the Discord. Nice little cozy group in the Discord. But wow, welcome. A lot of the viewers are probably watching on X. We got a pretty good following on X. Look at both these stocks doing similar things. They both have a negative reaction, but it's looking like there's some dip buyers here. We'll see. Visa came down to 338 and some change. Now it's back up to 344. I want to get some more info on ENPH real quick. We'll find out when they're going to do their earnings web call and how to get there. I'm going to go to ENPH's investor relations page and get some more data for everybody. Give me 1 second. We'll pull that up. There we go. Wow. Look at ENPH trying to make a comeback here. All right. So this is ENPH's investor relations page. Let me just scroll down. And right here. Okay. Q3 conference call webcast. I'm going to put this link in the comments. Make it easier. Whoa, that's a big link. Let me see if I can reduce that down a little bit. Jeez. Why is the link so big? Yeah, I just want to, let me see, copy link address. Let me try that. I'm just going to type this out for everybody. It's going to be investor.enphase.com. There we go. All right, so I'll put this link on my screen. So that link there, that's going to take you to the Enphase Investor Relations. And let me just go back there real quick. And right here, this hyperlink that says financial results, that's how you can take a deeper dive into their earnings results, okay? I'll go ahead and click on that. And a little press release here. So Enphase, global energy technology company and the world's leading supplier of microinverter-based solar and battery systems, announced today financial results for the third quarter of 2025. So kind of a quick summary. They reported revenue of $410 million. All right. They shipped approximately 1.77 million microinverters. Wow. Highlights for the third quarter, revenue $410 million. We already went over that. Free cash flow, $5.9 million. Ending cash equivalents and marketable securities of $1.48 billion. Okay, so that's good. And we already went over total revenue. I just want to see if there's some commentary from the upper management. Sometimes they release a few statements before they do the earnings web call. This is a 12-page document here. So again, that link on the bottom of my screen, if you want to dig deeper into Enphase's earnings data, go to that link and then just scroll down to where it says Q3 financial results, and then you'll get the same document that I'm looking at. Let me see. Don't see any commentary from the CEO. Like I said, sometimes they release a few statements, but nonetheless, their earnings web call is going to be at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. It's about 15 more minutes before that earnings web call starts. You can screenshot that link on the bottom of my screen. It'll take you right there. Let me just verify the time for everybody. Click on that link. Okay, here it is here. Yeah, so 1:30 p.m. Pacific time, which is going to be 4:30 p.m. Eastern. All right, so we got ENPH's earnings data. We got their EPS. We got their revenue. We know when their earnings web call is going down, and we know how to get there. I'm going to pop over to Visa and see what's going on with them because they've got a negative reaction. We'll go 1 minute chart on this. They had a negative reaction, but they are clawing back. They are clawing back. Let me pop a Fibonacci on this. And yeah, they've already retraced back up above the golden fib. It's right around 344 a share. So they're definitely dip buyers on Visa. Now I was saying earlier, we were trading Visa quite a bit this year specifically. And the type of trade we were doing on Visa was is basically a diagonal calendar spread. Is basically what it is. And what that is we were buying longer dated puts like 3-4 months out in time. And then we were using those longer dated puts as collateral, okay, to sell weekly cash secured puts. And setting the spread up that way means we're basically able to reduce the buying power needed for the weekly cash secured puts by like 90% in most cases. So huge benefit of buying power needed reduction just from setting up the spread like that. And now look at this. Visa's actually green now, up 1%. It's trying to catch a bid after having an initial negative reaction. Investors needed to sift through the earnings data and see what was what, and now there's buying pressure. So their net revenue for Visa came in at $10.7 billion. The estimate was $10.6 billion. So they beat revenue. The EPS was a small beat. More came in line, but small beat. The forecast was $2.97 for the EPS. They reported 2.98. So double beat for Visa. Okay. Payments volume, okay, was up 9% year over year. Process transactions, they beat estimates on that. The process transactions estimate was 67.64 billion, and they reported 67.7 billion. So small beat there, but they did beat, and the process transactions is up 10% year over year. So that's nice growth. And one bit of information here, which is very interesting, is they raised their dividend. They raised it to 67 a share. Let me see what they were paying before. There's a previous dividend right here. Yeah, the previous dividend was 59 cents a share. So they're showing some growth with process transactions and payments volume. And they just increased their dividend from 59 a share to 67 a share. Special item, $899 million litigation provision related to interchange multi-district case. Just wanted to throw that out there. But this initial negative reaction has turned into a positive reaction for the time being. Sitting here in the post market at $351.56 a share, up 1.3% in after hours. So yeah, the doctor on Discord, let's go Visa. It's looking like a congrats to the Visa Bulls. ENPH also trying to claw back a little bit. Again, their earnings web call starts at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. It's about 13 more minutes before they do their earnings web call. Let's see what kind of levels they retrace. I'm not going to count this upper wick here. So it was initial negative reaction. So I'm just going to go to the top of this red candle. Actually, let me draw it this way. We'll go down to the top. Okay, that looks better. Okay, some of these fib levels lining up to the T here. Support level number one, it's going to be 35 bucks a share. They're trading just above that at 35.70. If I was trying to trade this in after hours with limit orders, trying to trade the shares, I'd like for it to hold 35 bucks a share. It did make a higher low at 35, so that's the support I'd be looking at. We'd like to see 35 a share hold. Volstack says booking holding nice, 22.78 bucks up on ER. Okay, yeah, I did see that that company was reporting as well. If we have time, we'll look at that. Price target for SoFi. We can take a quick look at that. First thing I do, of course, is look at the bigger time frames. Usually start off with the weekly chart. SoFi is in no man's land right now. There's really no historical price action to compare this to. It's at all-time highs, 31.98. It's what the high it hit today. So kind of hard to give a price target on that. I suppose we could check some analysts and see what they say, but sometimes those analyst price targets, sometimes they're not too good, but SoFi being at all-time high, the upside, your guess is kind of as good as mine. There's really no previous price action to go off of to determine other areas of interest. Now, support, I'm going to put that at the previous resistance. Easy support levels on the bigger time frame. I'd probably have S number one for SoFi. I mean, at least we can look at some downside support levels, where if it does pull back, we can look for bounces at those levels and maybe sacrifice a little bit of the bounce to make sure it is bouncing and then ride the wave back up. But support level number 1 on SoFi, 28 bucks a share. Support level number 2, 25. Easy peasy right there. So 28 and 25, those are the levels of interest I'd be looking at now that SoFi's broken into the $30 range, which it's never been in the 30s before. I suppose it tapped the 30s last month. It briefly was above 30 bucks on this day here, September 22nd. It got to $30 and some change. So, you know, it's kind of, there's no really previous price action to see any levels of interest or looking at the volume profile, how much volume came in at these previous levels and stuff like that. We don't really have any of that to go off of as far as resistance levels go or price targets. So, you know, just kind of ride the wave until it starts pulling back a little bit. If we pop on the Bollinger Bands on SoFi, let me just see how extended it is. So I like using the Bollinger Bands on the bigger time frames. I write a lot of contracts, so I like to see when things are overextended or underextended. We just pop on the BBs there. You can see SoFi is pretty overextended above the top Bollinger Band. When I enter stocks that are on an uptrend, I like to enter at the middle Bollinger Band. You can see SoFi's bounced very nicely off the middle Bollinger Band. That's kind of like the mean, right? The average, if you will. But it's always bounced really nicely off this middle band. So that's, you know, if you're not in SoFi, not financial advice, just kind of what I'm looking at, in my opinion. But it's usually a good bet to be a little patient. When the stock's overextended like it is here, you got tons of space between the middle line and where the price is, and the price is above the top Bollinger Band. So this is just asking for a little bit of a pullback to kind of revert to the mean a little bit. But it's always a safe bet, in my opinion, to wait for the pullback to the middle Bollinger Band, and then you could start scaling in there in anticipation of a bounce. But that's kind of what I see on SoFi. Obviously, I do like SoFi as a company. I don't currently have any SoFi positions, but just a quick peek at their financials, trailing 12-month PE, very, very positive. EPS positive, 1.16 billion floats. Let's look at the net income statement. They have 5 back-to-back quarters of profitability on an annual basis. You know, SoFi is one of those like turnaround stories, if you will. Because I remember trading this. I used to wheel SoFi back when it was trading, you know, 10, 15 bucks around there. We ran the wheel on it quite a bit, made decent money on it. You know, and I started wheeling it last year, as a matter of fact, because they finally showed signs of profitability. And that's, I like, you know, any stocks that I write contracts on, I prefer them to be a profitable company, you know, and especially, you know, if you're looking at a 5-year view and they haven't pulled a profit in 5 years, that should be a little bit of a red flag. But the reason why I kind of fell in love with SoFi last year is that they just had a history of not being profitable, and every single year they were taking quite a bit of a hit. I mean, we're talking like $250 million to almost $500 million hit every year dating back to 2020. And finally in 2024, they got their head above water. They started pulling a profit, and it's basically been off to the races since then. So I do like the future of SoFi. And just for those who don't know, they're basically fintech. You probably see their commercials on online and stuff like that. But they basically do financial services products and lending and stuff like that. But I just like the fact that, you know, they started pulling a profit in 2024, and I've been trading them ever since, as far as writing contract, basically selling cash secured puts to get into the stock, collecting income. Usually get like 3-4 rounds of cash secured puts in before I even get assigned one single share, and then I'm just accumulating a bunch of credit for when the day comes that I do get assigned shares. I have a very nice cushion from my technical cost basis to the strike I got assigned at. And then I'll just jump over to the covered call side and see how many rounds I can get on that side. But anyways, let me go back to ENPH. But that was for my buddy Emmanuel on X. I know I kind of didn't give you a price target, but based on what I'm seeing, I'd keep your eye on those support levels. Basically 30, 28, and 25 are the levels I'd be looking at on the downside, where if you weren't already trading SoFi or in SoFi, those are the levels I'd be looking for a pullback bounce to possibly enter there. But SoFi is just kind of in no man's land right now because it's never been in the 30s before. Again, it briefly tapped the 30s last month. So looking at historical price action for potential resistance levels or profit-taking levels, it's just not there. So you just kind of try and ride the wave and keep your eye on those support levels as where you probably put your risk at, or potential bounces. If it's a long-term play and you're DCAing into it, you could always add on some pullbacks. So ENPH still has a negative reaction. It looked like it was retracing back up there momentarily, but it's can't come back down a little bit. The low in after hours was 33.16, and they are trading a bit above that now, just under 35. So we'll see. Their earnings web call starts in about 5 minutes. And again, that's the link on the bottom of my screen will take you there. As far as Visa goes, they had an initial negative reaction. The dip got bought, as you can see, and now it's green, slightly green, about up 1%. Again, a $350 stock, 1%, it's several dollars a share there. So up over $3 a share. It is green. Let me get did I post the Visa? Yeah, let me post the Visa EPS and revenue in the comments. And then again, we kind of recapped Visa a little bit. They had some really nice growth with their payments volume, which was up 9% year over year. And also the processed transactions, because that's what Visa does. They're a merchant processor, among other things, but that's the main thing. Their processed transactions, they beat estimates on that, and that's up 10% year over year. So showing some growth there. And then I think the icing on the cake for Visa is they increased their dividend. They increased their dividend by 14%, folks. That's really good, especially for the long-term holders of Visa. Let me go to Visa's investor relations page, and we're going to find out when their earnings web call is. ENPH working on a nice 5-minute green candle here. We'll see how it closes. There's about 2 minutes left on this print, so maybe there's some life still here on the buy side. We'll see. But let me show everyone how to get to the Visa earnings web call and what time that's going down. Let me just pull this over here. Scroll down a little bit. Okay, so here is the press release for the guidance, or the earnings data they just put out. And click on that first. See if there's some info that I didn't give already. Okay, it's like a blank page. Hold on. There we go. All right, let me minimize this again. Oh, Visa's got some issues with their website. They need to talk to their IT department. Okay, there we go. So 5 p.m. Eastern is Visa's earnings web call. All right, so about 30 more minutes for that. Let me just click this press release. It's a PDF document here, 13 pages long. Matter of fact, let me go back to Visa's home page. So I just want to, okay, here it is here, investor.visa.com. I'll put this link in the comments because I know a lot of people here are here for Visa, I would think. I know ENPH has a pretty good following. They've just been getting crushed all year, though. So anyways, that's the link for Visa. That'll get you to the earnings web call. About 2,500 people tuning in. Welcome, everybody. Again, seeing a lot of familiar faces and a lot of familiar names. Good to see everyone. I do these earnings streams every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern. we got a full load this week with earnings. I was going over earlier. Tomorrow, a big day. Meta, Microsoft, Google, Chipotle, Carvana, Starbucks, eBay, Teladoc. I mean, we got some big companies reporting tomorrow. Just these top three, Meta, Microsoft, and Google. I mean, those three alone, they're going to move the markets, okay? So be ready for that tomorrow. And then Thursday, another big day on Thursday. Amazon reporting, Apple reporting. This is all after the closing bell, so after the regular session. We have Thursday's Amazon, Apple, Coinbase, Reddit, MicroStrategy. I know that's a big one. Rocket Companies, that's they do loans and stuff. Cloudflare, we traded net many times. That's another one we ran the diagonal calendar trades on. So, you know, this is just a big earnings week. You know, Visa is holding up here. So I don't think Visa is going to affect the markets much in a negative way. ENPH still red. But yeah, absolutely. Tomorrow and Thursday are absolutely companies that are reporting earnings that can move the market. So you just got to be ready. If you need to, you know, if you have existing positions that are nice and green and you're kind of unsure what to do going through these earnings of these big companies this week, maybe you're concerned about a little bit of downside and you're wondering, what do I do to protect myself? The easiest thing you can do, assuming you have 100 shares of the company, a minimum of 100 shares, is you can just simply put on a collar trade. And the way you could put on a collar trade, it's very easy. I'll use Visa as an example. But what you could do, and if it's just going to be a short-term hedge just to get you through the catalyst, you could just do Friday's expiration. But what you would do, for instance, on Visa, assuming your position is green, or even if it's not green, I mean, you're holding it and you don't want any more downside. What you could do is sell this 347.50 covered call. You could collect almost $600 in credit on that, and then use that credit to buy a naked put option. And then you'll be fully protected through the strike price of that naked put through intrinsic value alone. So for example, if Visa had a negative reaction and sold off to the 330s and you had that collar trade in place, you wouldn't participate in any of the downside below 345. All right. And that would be the strike price of your naked put. And if you collected over $600 on the call, when you sold the call, you'd actually have some profit left over on the covered call side, because the cost of the put is only around $500. So you'd have over $100 in additional income on the covered call credit. And of course, you'd collect a little over $600 on that, and then you'd use $500 of that credit to pay for your hedge. So this is a collar trade is a way to get a free hedge, basically, in a lot of situations. Sometimes you have to pay a little bit, but it would usually, in most cases, it will cover the majority. The credit you receive on the call side would cover the majority of the cost needed to buy that protection. And then by the time you get to expiration, you know, if the underlying stock did sell off quite a bit, then basically what you're going to do is you're going to cash in your hedge put. That'll have a ton of value on it, and that'll help offset any red or drawdown that you see on your shares. And that's how you protect yourself. All right. This is the kind of stuff I teach in the Discord. So if you're interested in learning more hedge management techniques using multi-leg options, I'm your guy. Okay. I can show you how to do all that. And that's what I show everyone in the Discord how to do. Let me check the Discord comments, make sure I didn't miss anything. Breckle says condor time. Yeah, maybe. I think I might do an inverse iron condor on one of the bigger companies either tomorrow or Thursday. And that's basically the opposite of a traditional iron condor. So just to quickly explain, a traditional iron condor, you have a credit spread on each side of the price. and you're basically chopping the price of the underlying stock in the middle of your two credit spreads. It's a way to collect like double income. That's the deal with those. I don't usually do those for earnings because, of course, a regular iron condor is the trade that we use when a stock is trading sideways. All right. So that way, if a stock is trading sideways, maybe it's in an accumulation phase or consolidation phase, we can slap an iron condor on it, which is a credit spread on each side of the price, and collect income while it's trading sideways. So that's what some people think, you know, the only way to make money is if a stock goes up, you buy calls, or a stock goes down, you buy puts, you know. No, there's more ways to make money. We can make money if a stock's trading sideways very easily. A lot of my strategies are neutral strategies. Anytime you're short a contract, so you could be short the call or short the put, what you're doing is actually writing that contract and collecting credit. And anytime you're collecting credit on a trade, we don't need a directional move, okay? Unless you've opened them up in the money. But most of my credit trades are out of the money. So when you're doing a trade, when you're collecting credit and you're out of the money with your strike prices, we don't need the stock to move to win those trades. And that's why I trade a lot like that. Because a lot of times I don't have to be biased to one direction or the other. But back to the condor trade I was talking about, for earnings, we do the opposite of an iron condor. So an iron condor, another word for that is a short condor, because you're technically short on each end of the price collecting credit. The opposite of that, which is a trade we use for earnings catalysts, is what's called an inverse iron condor, or also called a long iron condor. That's where we have a debit spread on each side of the price, which means we can win two ways. If the stock goes to the moon, we win. If the stock burns to the ground, we win. So the inverse iron condor is you got two ways to win that trade, not just one. There's always risk with every trade, and where the risk lies with the inverse iron condor is you don't want the price to be flat. That's where the risk is. All right. So, but these are the kind of trades that I show everyone how to do in the Discord, and we have a lot of fun. Look at ENPH. It's still trying to bottom out here. I mean, I suppose it bottomed out around 33 a share because it did retrace back up a bit, but it's still kind of stuck here, down 5% in after hours, which is almost $2 a share. Visa, on the other hand, initial negative reaction. Then there was a dip buy, I'm assuming, due to the they increased the dividend. The news that broke for they declared an increase in the dividend, 14% increase in the dividend, and investors kind of piled into the trade here. But nonetheless, it is still holding green in after hours, just by a little bit. Again, Visa's earnings web call is at 5 p.m. Eastern. ENPH's web call is going on right now, so I don't know what they're talking about. I'm personally not going to stream it, but it's been going on for about 8 minutes. It started at 4:30, and there hasn't really been a secondary move yet. Sometimes there'll be a secondary move when the actual earnings web call starts and the CEO and CFO start talking about guidance and stuff like that. You know, so just you got to be on your P's and Q's this week because there's some big earnings this week. And, you know, these companies are going to move the markets one way or the other. And then, of course, we have the federal interest rate decision tomorrow. We'll just go over that real quick. I had it pulled up. Where'd it go here? I'm just going to go to the Fed Watch tool. This is the CME group. If you don't know about the CME Fed Watch tool, I'll put this link in the comments for everyone. Maybe it's a tool you can add to your toolkit. You can bookmark that link right there. And it's a real neat tool because it'll tell you the probabilities of whether there's going to be a rate cut or not. This is for December 29th. excuse me, October 29th. I'm getting ahead of myself. October 29th, the FOMC meeting tomorrow. 99.9% chance they're going to cut the rate by 0.25 tomorrow. Okay. You can even come up here to the toolbar and look at the other future meetings. There's even a 90% chance they cut the rate again in December. So it's looking like 2 more rate cuts this year, and that's kind of what Powell was hinting to, and some of the other Feds. January, it kind of balances out to like a 50-50 shot there, whether they hold it steady or reduce it further. But it's looking like 2 more rate cuts. Now, I don't think the markets are going to have this, surprise rally tomorrow because they cut the rates, because we've known about this for a bit now. Powell was hinting about 2 rate cuts for this year about a month ago. So, I think the rate cut's probably baked in. So don't get too excited that tomorrow's going to be some bull rally because they cut the rate. I mean, let's just be real. It's, big money's known about this rate cut for a bit now, and it's probably already priced in. But just wanted to go over that in case anyone was wondering, are we getting a rate cut or tomorrow or not? And it's looking like we are. 99.9% chance. So I'd say yes, right? Okay, so we got both earnings reactions. Visa, I'm thinking we'll probably have a secondary move when they have their earnings web call. Again, that's in about 20 minutes. But yeah, we got both reactions. We got EPS and revenue for both companies. We know when their earnings web call is. ENPH's web call is going on right now. Visa's web call starts in about 20 minutes. I put the links to get you to those calls in the comments. So hopefully that saves everyone a little bit of time. But yeah, my name's The Swinging Bull with PB Alerts is the name of our Discord. If you're looking for a new home, definitely check us out. There's some links in the description. You can even join the free section and see how you like that and go from there. But if you've ever been interested in writing contracts, being on the selling side of the opening transaction, that is my bread and butter. I've been writing contracts for years and years and years now. I've been with the Discord alone for the past 4 years. But I've been writing contracts for probably the past 7 or 8 years now. And it is my bread and butter. It's the most consistent and profitable strategy by far because it's just so consistent over time. All right. So if you've ever been interested in how to write contracts, or you're interested in spread trading, multi-leg options, I do a lot of credit spreads. I do debit spreads. We do condors. I do calendar spreads. We do all kinds of fun stuff. I sell lots of cash secured puts. Once I own stock, I sell lots of covered calls. And I basically target weekly and monthly income using options and writing contracts. So if you've ever wondered about getting involved in that, join the Discord. Come check us out. When you do join the Discord, tag me in the chat. I'll put my name back up on there so you all know. I go by The Swinging Bull on Discord. So if you join the Discord, tag me in the chat. I'll come by and say hello. Maybe there's something I can help you out with right away. We can chat for a little bit. But yeah, other than that, that's all I got for today. And again, just a reminder, earnings tomorrow. It's going to be a big day. We got Meta, Microsoft, and Google tomorrow. Big deal. Big companies. So tomorrow is, after the regular session, is definitely going to be a market moving type of day just with these 3 companies alone. And then Thursday, of course, Amazon, Apple, Coinbase, MicroStrategy. Thursday is going to be another market moving day. So be on your P's and Q's tomorrow and Thursday. If you need help putting any hedge trades in place, join the Discord, send me a DM. I will definitely help you figure out how to hedge your positions, because that's really what I'm good at as well, is how to protect our capital. All right. Well, other than that, this is the Swinging Bull with PB Alerts. I hope everyone enjoyed the stream. I hope everyone has a fantastic night. And until next time, I'll see everyone in the very next stream. Cheers.